Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. Really quickly wanted to show my coworker Mateo how to use Adobe Premiere. For the past year that we've been working, we've actually been working mainly in DaVinci Resolve. And although I was running on a cracked version of Adobe, we finally pulled the trigger. There you go. We finally pulled the trigger on buying Adobe Premiere. So now we all have access to Premiere Pro. But we haven't all gone through the training and understanding of how Premiere Pro works. So I really wanted to do this video and teach Mateo firsthand how I go about it, so that hopefully we can all start using it and working together more succinctly. So let's get to it. Alright, so first up, we're going to have to open a project. We already did that, but when you open Adobe Premiere, it's going to ask you to name a file and, ask where you want to save it. Once you do that, you're going to come into this menu. Preferably, you should have it in the effects panel. I personally love this page the most, but all of these pages work. They just have different approaches to the workflow, but they all have the same panels, just in a different location, depending on what you're trying to execute. And then first off here, we're going to have our import all our stuff into the project folder. So right here, you can make folders, you can add folders. I like to make folders. They call them bins here. So I'll pull this like footage and we'll make another bin. If you want to know a shortcut for that, that's Control B for bin. And then here's audio. So we'll open the footage folder. We'll double click and now we'll get this window where we can select our footage. You guys can't see that, but I'll just quickly drop some footage in here. If you want, you can always just drag and drop footage into this folder or use the menu that opens up when you double click it. So whatever works best. Now as you can see here, now we have all our footage. We can select it and play them back here, and this is like the preview menu. Now we'll do the same thing for the audio files, which we have in a similar folder. Alright, so first thing is up, we're going to add all our footage and audio and we're going to try to sync them. So I like to just put in all the footage first, just so we have an organization of everything. Oops, there you go. Alright, now that we have all of the footage lying on the timeline, it will create a sequence. And the sequence, you can tell it exists because its icon here is like a bunch of little footage lines and some audio lines. And what I like to do is actually take it out of this main folder and put it in its own folder, which for whatever reason is not letting me do. I'll make a new folder here, sequence, drag it up, come on, there you go, boom. And so now we can title this whatever we want. We can call this interviews in this case. And now our timeline will be called interviews. And so we have all our footage here now. What I like to do is actually leave little gaps between everything, just so we have little space to work with between the shots. And luckily for us, when we filmed this, it was all in chronological order, so we don't really have to mess with the order of these clips. We're just going to set them apart. To do this a little faster, you can use this track select tool. I think it's A for the shortcut, but whatever you select, it'll select that item and everything in front of it. So you can do this and then you just go up a little bit and move forward clips at a time. I find this to be a little quicker. All right, now that we have our clips separated, I'm going to start importing our audio so that we can sync it. So in this case, we have one very large audio file, and our first clip is like maybe just 10 seconds or so. So to help with the spacing once again, I'm going to make sure none of the clips, the other clips that is, are in the way of the audio file. Just because if we do sync these, they tend to move in together. So let's see. We'll right click here and you'll go here to synchronize. And here in this menu, all you gotta do is just make sure you have audio check marked, and you can select the channel. In this case, there's only one channel to select. Click OK, and Adobe will do its magic. From here, we now have our audio synced up, and we can just cut. What I like to do is actually go to the beginning of the clip, and we have certain shortcuts set up. In our case, C is actually for cut. So we press C, we cut. I'll be able to delete everything in front. And I use the arrow keys up and down to go between clips. Go to the end of the other clip, press C again, and then I guess I won't delete these because this is actually going to be used for the other footages, so we'll leave that there.
Hello, what's up guys? We're at CSUN. We're going to be interviewing some college students, asking them questions.
And what I like to do, honestly, is just get rid of the old file audio. More often than not, our Rode mic is much better quality. And then to make sure everything stays synced, just select the two things you want to have synced and press Control L, or you can right click and press link, which is up here right under enable. Boom, but there you go.
Hello, what's up guys? We're at CSUN.
Amazing, the Rode mic's too good. Alright, cool, so there you go. Now we just have to do this for the rest of the clips, so I'll fast forward to that and I'll catch you on the other side. Alright, and there you have it. We have everything synced in the timeline, so all the audio and video is in its appropriate location. And now here, what I like to do actually is to color correct it first. You can always do this at the end too. Doesn't really matter, but I'm gonna show you how I go about doing that. So first, you have to have a certain clip selected. So we'll start with his opening clip here. Have it selected, and on the right hand side, we go to Lumetri Color. And you wanna actually click the menu Basic Correction. Here, if you had any white balance issues in your footage, you can kind of correct it here. We had none of that in our footage, so we're lucky. And then what I like to really mess with is the tone. And you can get creative, or you can just do basic correction. What I like to have open first for this though is actually Lumetri Scopes. If it works, sometimes it doesn't want to open Lumetri Scopes. And this is just like a little waveform to show you the data of your footage. So the top end of the waveform is the whites, and the bottom end is the blacks, and left to right actually corresponds to left to right of your footage. So Mateo sits right here, as you can see, because he's less brighter than the background. And so if you had any problems with your footage, in fact, I really like this shot, but let's say we want to drop some of the highlights down so it's not as bright, we can do that here. The shadows we can make a little darker so there's a little more richness and tone. And then whites and blacks are the same, but it just deals with the extremes. So you can drop the whole image whites, and you can see corresponding on the waveform how it moves. So typically I'll just mess with it to get a certain look. I like a high contrast look, meaning there's a big difference between the highest white and the darkest black. But do whatever you feel looks good for your footage. In this case, I'm pretty happy with that. And we can move on to the next clip, and we'll just repeat this process for every clip. So let's do one more here. So for example, this footage is actually, I would say, is pretty overexposed. You can see there's a lot of white. It's almost overblown. It's kind of a little hard on the eyes. So what we can do is actually correct it here. So we can drop the exposure a little bit. That helps, not too much because it was overexposed, but we can drop the highlights. That helps a lot. And then the whites is actually kind of useful to have a few of them because we still need to be able to see. And then just to help with the contrast, I'll bring in some shadows and blacks. And if we scrub through, we'll see that the footage looks a lot better versus where it was before, which I can show you before and after like that. So there you go. That's going to be simple, basic color correction. Like I said, in this case for your footage, whatever it is, you may need to do this a lot of times depending on how many clips you have. But if they're all shot in the same location, what you can do is once you've applied the changes and you open the effect controls here, it actually counts as an effect on your footage. You can just copy this and either paste it onto all the other clips so that you don't have to keep doing this process for every single clip. But only do that if the lighting conditions are the same. In our case, we have different lighting conditions, so I'm gonna go ahead and color correct every shot so that we have a uniform look. All right, now that we've color corrected everything, we've synced our video and audio, we can now start assembling our video so that we have what we call the A cut. The A cut is basically the majority of the content. It's going to be either like the talking head or whatever the focus of your video is. And then later on, depending on the video, you can add some B-roll, graphics, text, or whatever to really spice it up. But this is where we just set the foundation. So let's just start with our intro and we'll move from there. In this case, what we're really looking for in each clip is just to trim down just to the essential components. In this case, I think the intro is fine, but just to make sure, we're gonna play through and just cut off any excess that we don't need. So let's go through it.
Hello, what's up guys? We're at CSUN. We're gonna be interviewing some college students, asking them some questions about their dream job and what they wanna do once they finish, so stick around.
Honestly, that was like perfectly cut. I don't know what happened, but that was just fine. Here we may choose to decide how much of the walking up and asking questions footage we'll use. So we'll see how that plays out. Right here, maybe right when he says hey boss, so like somewhere here. So I have some shortcuts. I'll have a screenshot of our shortcut settings, but in this case, when I want to trim from the playhead to the beginning of the clip, like I do in this instance, I don't want any of this clip from the beginning. You just use the shortcut Q and it'll cut all of that out and also delete the space. So now you have an instant cut. And now we'll just use that and move forward. So in this instance, we're definitely going to keep him asking, and then now that we've asked the question once, we'll keep it, we won't have to do it again. So we'll just keep this instance. So right here, he has a very long pause. This will be an instance where I want to cut it just so that we're not, including all these boring or dull moments, and we just get to the juicy parts where he's actually answering the question and sharing his passion. So in this case, I think he starts thinking around here. Boom. We'll wait for his answer. So either like is somewhere here. Right before he says again.
You got this, man. Thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Boom. Honestly, the rest of the clip there is perfectly fine. So basically, that's going to be like the process for cutting down the footage and trying to get an A cut. In this instance, we're actually going to have to boost his audio. We'll do that a little later towards the end. But yeah, we're just going to run through all the clips doing exactly this so that we can get our video as concise and as simple as possible. So we'll see you in a moment. All right, so now we have our A cut assembled on the timeline. We know what the end product is going to look like. We just now have to add our B-roll, graphics, any titles or captions that we want. And then at the end, we'll add some music if necessary. So let's get started on that. In this instance, what I really love about Adobe is that they have some presets if you're into lower thirds or upper thirds or any sort of titles and captions. On the right-hand side here, if you go to, I believe it's Essential Graphics, yes, there's a browse menu here, and they have a bunch of defaults that you can use in your videos, or you can make these customized yourself. For the purposes of this video, I'm going to use a default one here. So let's go here. Let's say I like this lower third. Well, all you have to do in Adobe is just drag and drop it on top of the scene that you need it in. We'll zoom in here so you can see a little clearer. It pops in right there. If you select it, you can now edit it on the right hand side here. So we'll add the name here. In this instance, it's Mateo Elvira. His title, we can choose to be CEO Elvira Media. Cool. They even allow you to change the shape if you want. So you can change the color of it if you had like certain brand color you were interested in doing, or even the opacity, because there's an opacity gradient here they have set up, which is really nice. But in our case, I think blue is our brand color, so it works out pretty well. Now, if we play back, you'll see that the title and the animation play with where we put it.
Hello, what's up, guys? We're at CSUN. We're going to be interviewing some college students, asking them some questions about their...
Perfect. So that's how you can do some simple graphics. Like I said, Essential Graphics browse. There's a bunch of default ones that are really useful. They even have some for like liking and subscribe. They have some sport ones. But if you wanted to make one, let's say we wanted to do a quickie little graphic here about CSUN. You just have to press T on your keyboard to bring up the text box, or you can click text right here. And click anywhere on the screen and you'll actually bring up a text box. In this case, let's write CSUN. I'll select the selection tool and you can just increase the size of this. Let's say we were happy with that, something like this. If you wanted to change the stroke, I would select everything here. You can, or the fill rather, you can change this to, I don't know, let's say we wanted some sort of red. You get a little preview on the actual play window. So if you're interested, somewhere here, let's say I like that. And there you go, you have a little text graphic that you can make yourself. If you wanted to animate this gets a little more involved, but I can show you really quick. You just have to have the element selected. On the top left window, make sure you have effect controls on. And let's say we were trying to mess with the graphic here. We go to motion. These are all the elements we can change. So we can change the position of the graphic. We change the size of it, which is scale, or we can even rotate it. Let's say I wanted to come really small, come to normal size, and then maybe even rotate like once. So to do that, we have to set keyframes. Keyframes are just the start and end point of our animation. In this case, we'll start our rotation and our scale. Let's just do those two. We'll go ahead, let's say 5 frames, somewhere here. We'll set the scale to 100. And we'll set the rotation to 0, that's fine. Now we can go to the beginning keyframe. We can change these. Let's say we change it to -360 because it's going to spin. And then from here, we'll change it to 0. And then to make animations just a little bit smoother, you select all the keyframes. You're going to right click and you can choose ease in. This makes it so that's not such a robotic movement, just a linear 0 to 100. Instead, it's going to be 0, kind of scope out, and then slow down to 100. And I think you'll see what I mean when I play it back. I know that's not the most amazing animation you'll ever see, but it's something, and it kind of looks kind of funny. Actually, I'm kind of impressed how it came out. I didn't think it would do that, but yeah, so that's how you can do animations if that was something you were into. It even looks like it comes out of his mouth. It's kind of funny. And at the end, let's say we wanted to fade it out. I think the default animation in the Adobe is dissolve, so you can right click here and click apply the default transition, and it's a cross dissolve. So you can set the duration here by having it selected, and then this little, I don't know how to describe this icon, but there's an icon specifically for transitions. You can select it. Yeah, it's like a weird bracket. Select it and you can choose the duration. So if you want it to be a quick dissolve, you can shorten it, or if you want it to slowly dissolve, you can add a little length to it. And there you go. That's how you would make a little text animation and lower thirds. Perfect. Real quick, I'll actually show you how you can add video graphics, or I'd rather picture graphics. We'll go here onto the menu here. I'm just gonna add it to the main folder. Let's say we had a picture we wanted to add here. In this case, we have like his notification to subscribe to the channel. We'll add that towards the end of this video. So we'll scroll back all the way here. What we can do is just select this and we'll just drag it on top without overriding any of our footage or audio.
Let me know down below if you have any suggestions on who we should.
And let's say we don't like the position. I mean, I kind of like it centered. It doesn't look too bad. But all you have to do is go to the effects panel, go anywhere. I think motion's usually the typical one. And we can just move it around. So let's say we want it to be in the lower center. That might look a little better. And it looks pretty good. So you can do this for pretty much any graphic or video for that matter. And of course, if you wanted to make this bigger, we can do that too. Let's say we wanted to be like that. Boom, boom. And boom. So yeah, we're going to go through this video one more time, add all our graphics and titles, and we'll catch you at the end and show you how to export. Okay, so now that we are happy with the video, we've added our A-roll, we've added some B-roll, we've added some titles, graphics, captions, and we added a soundtrack if necessary. We are ready to export. So let me show you exactly how you can do that. So to export, you just have to make sure you have the timeline selected. So in this case, just click anywhere here. You know it's selected with this blue outline. You're gonna go to File, Export, and it should say Media. In this case, the shortcut is Control M, so you don't have to always go down this menu. All right, now this menu should pop up, and let me show you exactly what you're gonna go through. We're gonna stop on the top here. Make sure you're at H.264, not 8.264 Blu-ray, just H.264. You can leave the preset on because we're actually gonna do some custom settings and it'll change. So just leave it at high bitrate. Here in output name, you can change the name to whatever you want. We're gonna call it CSUN Interview, I guess. We're gonna scroll down to video and make sure we're happy with the settings. So in this case, we did record in 1920 by 1080, so we're gonna leave that be. We did record in 24 frames, that's perfect, we're gonna let that be. We are gonna check mark this box, render at maximum depth so we can get the highest quality video possible. We're gonna scroll down some more, make sure this is all good. Main 4.1 is fine, nothing wrong here. Content is fine. Now here's where the most important setting we're gonna change is called bitrate. So we're gonna make sure we're on VBR 2 pass. Basically the Adobe is gonna have to go through the footage twice and make sure everything is accurate. This allows for the highest quality content in terms of visually, like good quality. I know it's gonna take a little longer And especially if you're exporting a really large file, it's going to take quite a while, but it's worth it if you want to get the highest quality picture. So we're going to have VBR2 pass. So YouTube has different bit rates based on the resolution that you're going to be going for. For 1080p, it's actually 15 megabytes per second. I like to go up 1 on that. And then maximum, in this case, I'll put it to 25. So you want your target to be the YouTube recommendation, and for your maximum, you can up it up a bit. This only will affect certain scenes where there's a lot going on, like say drone footage or landscape footage or graphics. But otherwise, the target of 15 or 16 megabytes per second should be fine. Especially if you're doing just talking head, you may not even need 2 pass. You could just go get away with 1 pass at 15 megabytes per second if you're doing 1080p footage. I'll link to a resource for what the target bit rates are based on the resolution and frame rate of the video that you are recording in. Now that we've done that, we can make sure everything's okay. We can go to audio. AAC is fine. Just make sure that the audio quality is at its highest, which it is at just 48,000 hertz. Stereo, perfect. You don't want mono. If you had captions, you go to the captions option here, and you can select to export a separate caption file, or you can have the caption be burned into the video so that it's a part of the video and lives on the video. But in this case, we have no captions, so there's nothing here. Finally, we're all done. We just have to select this last box. Use the maximum rendering quality. Once again, we want the highest quality image, so we're gonna have to select that. And now you'll see our file size is about 1.3 gigs, which is pretty typical for a very HD video like this with all the add-ons of graphics, music, and so on. Last thing you need to do, so you don't have to ever mess with these settings again, click here on Save Preset, and we're gonna call this 24 FPS 1080p YouTube export. Boom. And now that you've done that, you've saved these settings so you don't ever have to change these ever again. You just have to click this menu on preset and it'll pop up on the top all your custom ones. So in this case, we're happy with that. We can finally hit export and have our footage done. All right, and there you have it. I hope this video was insightful. This is a very high level overview of Adobe Premiere, how we edit and the order in which we like to edit. So you don't have to take this as gospel or anything. This is mostly training for Mateo and our team here because not everyone was comfortable or familiar with Adobe Premiere. I'm still learning a lot because Adobe, as you can kind of tell, is a very powerful tool and has a lot of tools and little knickknacks that you can mess with. So feel free to experiment yourself. But I hope this overview gives you a good guideline and a starting point so that you can start making videos and exporting high quality content as soon as possible. So I hope this finds you well. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Follow and like for more, and I'll see you till next time. Peace.